Hey everybody, how are you today? It's me, Jared Johnson, the Jared J, back once again with Talmadge Rodger Varnado, the third.
The third.
Welcome, Talmadge.
Thank you, sir.
And we got another sports-related topic today, and Talmadge actually pitched this topic to me, so I'm going to let him introduce it and roll with it.
All right. Well, actually, this topic we could use over and over again, so you may, even though we're introducing it today, you may see this several more times.
Quite possibly.
But basically, I was talking to Jared, and our thought was, can you think of a player who had a good career? Don't get me wrong, he wasn't a scrub, he didn't get cut, he had a good career, but it wasn't quite as good as you thought. Now, this could be for several reasons. It could be for circumstance. It could be because he just didn't live up to it. It could be because of injury or a trade or he was in a bad situation. But for whatever reason, he didn't quite meet the expectations that you might have had for him or even the media in general or fans in general. So that's kind of the conversation today. That's our thought behind it. And I guess I will introduce my guy first.
Go right ahead.
All right, well, I'm going to go with a player that was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks in the early 90s, and that would be Jimmy Jackson.
Oh, Ohio State shooting guard.
State.
Yeah.
In fact, National Player of the Year in basketball by UPI. Several organizations chose one, but UPI Player of the Year. Reason why I chose him was this. Now, before I get into let me backtrack. Before I get into my reasons, I will tell you that he averaged 14 points for his career. So again, solid career. Yeah. He averaged 5 rebounds, which for a two-guard, pretty solid number.
Yeah.
And 3.2 assists, which for a two-guard, again, nice secondary
ball handler. For a guy whose primary reason is to shoot, that's not bad.
Secondary playmaker. He was a top 5 draft pick, so he was accomplished. But the reason why I say he didn't quite reach what we might have thought, with all those accolades and being a top 5 pick, played for 12 different teams in the NBA by the time his career was over. So when you play for that many teams, unfortunately, you do get that journeyman label for whatever reason. The other reason is while 14 points is solid, when he was in college, I saw him as a 20-point scorer.
Yeah.
Easily. Good defender, good size, could do a lot of things well. So that's kind of why I chose him. He did have a 14-year career. So again, he was good enough to be on a team, a professional team, for 14 years. So again, that reiterates, wasn't a scrub, because to be in the league that long, that means somebody thought you were good enough to pay you to bounce a ball.
Yeah.
So this is by no means a shot at him, but again, I saw him as a 20-point scorer, great defender, good size, team leader, tough guy from that position, and he didn't quite live up to that. And before I get your choice, I will just add one other note. Larry Brown was one of his coaches, I believe in Philadelphia, but I don't want to swear by that, but I believe in Philadelphia. And Larry Brown summed it up like this, and I heard this quote from Larry, and I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. Larry Brown actually took responsibility for Jimmy Jackson not being a star. He did this with 2 players. And you know, Larry Brown coached for 40 years at the pro and college level, so you can imagine all the players that he came in contact with and he coached.
Oh, yeah.
There were 2 players, he said, I held them back. I'm the reason why they didn't become stars. One of them was Jimmy Jackson. The other one was Billy Owens. And the reason he gave was interesting. He said both of those players were so good at everything that I asked them to fill in roles because we didn't have other guys to do it. So I needed a shooter. Tonight, Jimmy, you're the shooter. Okay, tonight I need a defender. You're so good. Jimmy, you're the defender. Okay, granted, I know you're not quick enough as most point guards, but you're a better defender than the point guard we got, so you go guard the quick point guard.
Gotcha.
Okay, the small forward. You got good size for a 2-guard, but for small forward, you're kind of on the border, but we ain't got nobody better, so tonight, you got to go guard the small. So I asked those, they were so good and so versatile at everything that they kind of morphed into the glue guy or the role player instead of the star where I said, okay, I'm going to design an offense for you. You don't have to worry about anything else, just go score the basketball. That never happened. So a backhanded compliment in a way. He's complimenting him for how good he is, but it actually subtracted from his career.
Right. It's like, here's what you could have been, but here's what I used you. I had never heard that from Larry Brown, but Jim Jackson is one that I remember him coming out of college. And like you said, watching him in college, I expected him to be a starting 2-guard, consistent 20-plus point per game scorer until age started becoming a factor. Because he, like you said, athletic, good mid-range shooter, decent 3-point shooter, had a lot of solid enough defender.
And the other thing about that is, anytime that you wanted to make a trade, he was good enough to where a team would be like, yeah, throw him in.
Honestly, yeah.
Throw him in. And it happened time and time and time again.
You said he played for 12 teams.
Yeah. It's like they were good. He was good enough for 12 teams to want him when they traded or to sign him as a free agent.
Right.
But he was never good enough to where he's so good.
You're our man. You're
untouchable. We can't trade you. So he was a victim of his own success in two ways.
That's a very good point. And you brought up a really strong point. There's only 12 guys on an NBA roster.
15.
There's only, is it 15 now?
15.
Okay.
But 12 can play in that game.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. So 15 on a roster, 12 that can dress any given game. For a coach to think, for a number of coaches for 14 years to think you're one of the 15 guys, you're one of the 12 guys I'm going to dress, that's still a huge accomplishment because we've talked about this off camera. You could go to any gym in the world and a Jim Jackson will dominate every person on that court any day of the week. There's guys that aren't even in the league that are phenomenal basketball players. So the fact that someone wants you on their roster for that many years when they've only got 12 to 15 options, my goodness, you're one of the best players in the world. I don't care who you are if you're in the league.
It's all relative.
It is all very relative, just like my cousins are to me.
How did I know you were? As soon as relative came out of my mouth.
You should have known what you were walking into there.
Moving on, who's your choice?
So interestingly enough, my choice was from that same era.
Okay.
A guy that played for the University of Southern California.
I already know.
Earned a very unfortunate, in my opinion, nickname of Baby Jordan. 6'5", 210-pound shooting guard, Harold Miner. So just to give you a little background for some of you that are younger, may not know who Harold Miner is, or Jim Jackson for that matter. Harold Miner, 89-90 Pac-10 Freshman of the Year, 3-time All-Conference, 91-92 Pac-10 Player of the Year, and consensus All-American. Pretty darn good college career.
No question.
Played 3 seasons. I'll just do a quick rundown of his stats. As a freshman, 20.6 points, 3.6 rebounds, 2.1 assists. Almost 21 a game as a true freshman at USC. Sophomore, 23.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2.0 assists. As a junior, 26.3 points, 7.0 rebounds, 1.3 assists. So obviously assists were never his forte, but again, he's a scorer. His scoring went up each year. For his college career, 23.5 points, 5.4 rebounds, 1.8 assists. So again, for a 6'5", 2 guard, the rebound numbers are not bad. And this was a guy that was explosive, had incredible athleticism. Coming out of college, I believed he was going to be great. He was given that nickname Baby Jordan, I think, when he's in high school. And this was during the time that Michael Jordan was consistently leading the NBA in scoring. The Bulls were about to go on their first three-peat. Being compared to Michael Jordan was one heck of a thing. And I think it was completely unfair to compare any guy. I understand the athletic comparisons. To say to any guy who's not played one single game in the National Basketball Association, we're going to give you a nickname comparing you to the guy that leads the league in scoring every year and is the best defensive guard in the year, along with, well, Gary Payton came along around the same time. Right. The Alvin Robertsons, the Gary Paytons, the Michael Jordans. We're going to give you this nickname of Baby Jordan. No offense to Harold Miner. His career was much more baby than it was Jordan. I'm just being honest. So, great college career. We go to his NBA career. As a rookie, 92-93, he averages 10.3 points, 2.0 rebounds, 1.0 assists. Not great numbers, but I had not given up on him yet. I was like, he's still an athletic guy.
And a lot of people didn't.
With the Miami Heat. And also, I'll just name a few of his teammates that year because he played shooting guard. He was on that Miami Heat team with Kevin Edwards, Steve Smith, Brian Shaw, Glenn Rice, and Bimbo Coles.
A lot of good players.
A lot of guys, especially Glenn Rice, that were going to take shots away from Harold Miner when Harold Miner was just coming in as a rookie.
And those guys were all guards.
All of them were guards with the exception of Rice. It was a small forward, but still, if Rice is on the floor with Harold Miner, Rice is averaging 19 to 20 a game, is one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Who's the coach drawing up plays for? So I gave Harold Miner a lot of grace his rookie year. I was like, okay, he's not great yet. I still thought he would be. Now, let me say, I never thought he's going to be Michael Jordan level. In fact, back at that time, I said consistently, we'll never see another Michael Jordan, another Magic Johnson, another Larry Bird. Then Kobe Bryant came along and made me rethink the whole Jordan thing, at least from the athleticism standpoint. Kobe's the next closest Michael Jordan that we've ever seen as far as style of play, ability, everything. I never thought Harold Miner was going to be on that level, but I did think he'd be a pretty darn good NBA player. I thought he'd be probably better than Jim Jackson, or at least what I thought Jim Jackson would be. Maybe more in the range of like a Mitch Richmond, who in my opinion was a great shooting guard.
That's pretty high praise.
That's
a pretty good player.
It is. Now, Richmond was a better three-point shooter than Miner, but as far as the scoring ability, I genuinely thought Harold Miner might, at peak level, might be a Mitch Richmond level shooting guard. All right, so his second year, his scoring did increase from 10.3 to 10.5 points per game.
That is an increase.
2.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Okay, that second year, I still thought this guy's got ability. If Steve Smith gets hurt or traded, or if Harold Miner gets traded, I still think he could be a 20-point scorer. I really did. He did win the slam dunk contest 2 of his first 3 years in the league. He won 93, then J.R. Ryder won 94, then Harold Miner won 95. So he won as a rookie and a third-year player. Sadly, those were his biggest NBA accomplishments. We go into year 3 with Miami, 7.3 points, 2.6 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Then he gets traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, new environment. No Steve Smith, no Glenn Rice. You going to take over? 3.2 points, 0.6 rebounds, and 0.4 assists per game. For his 4 year, and that was his final year in the NBA. For his 4-year career, Harold Miner averaged 9.0 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1.2 assists per game. Now, to the point we just made, the guy was a phenomenal college player. He was on an NBA roster for 4 years. He won the slam dunk contest 2 times. That has nothing to do with basketball play. There's guys that are great dunkers that weren't great players. Then you've got your Julius Ervings, Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carters, guys like that who were great at both. But there's guys that are great dunkers that aren't even can't play in the NBA because they don't have a handle, a jump shot, can't play defense. Harold Miner, great basketball player compared to most people on the planet, but compared to what I and most people thought he was going to be coming out of college, he really did not live up to what I was expecting. I genuinely thought, even if it wasn't quite Mitch Richmond, I thought he's going to be in the range of an all-star level 20-point per game scorer.
It's funny you say all that because I was kind of in the middle on him. I fell in love with the flash and the name.
Yeah.
So much so that I remember draft night, the night he was drafted. I literally remember this because the Rockets were drafting right around the time Miami drafted. And they took Robert Horry. And I sat there and I looked at my sister who does not watch basketball and did not know what I was talking about. And I just yelled out, "We could have had Baby Jordan." And I'm a Rocket fan, and the fact that we didn't get Baby Jordan bothered me. Looking back at it, thank you. I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Robert Horry turned out to not be too bad a choice there.
I'm glad it worked out the way it did. But the
Baby Jordan or Big Shot Bob.
Right. But the reason I say I was in the middle, I never thought he'd be a Mitch Richmond type. This is my thought on him when he came out. He was listed at 6'5", you're right. He was actually 6'3".
He was probably,
he wasn't a secondary ball handler or playmaker. So it basically came down to could you score? Well, at 6'3" in the NBA, you're point guard size, but you're asked to play the 2 guards of the world like the Clyde Drexlers and the Mitch Richmonds and the Steve Smiths who could play both guard. Bigger,
even
stronger,
the Reggie
Millers.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's my struggle. But what I did think he would evolve into is the point guard on a second unit or the sixth man off the bench. When he's playing a second unit, he had offensive talent. That's where I thought he could find his niche, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, he never did.
And to be honest with you, I still don't quite know why he didn't work out, because he had the speed, the explosiveness, the athleticism. His first couple of years, it was a lot of the guys he played with. He got traded to Cleveland and had the worst season of his career. There were other teams that could have maybe been like, hey, we still see a lot of potential in this guy. It wasn't some debilitating injury. I don't know why he didn't be better than he was. The factors you point out are valid, but I still thought he could have hung around the league quite a bit longer than he did.
Here's the one thing I would say, and I might have my timeline wrong, but if Mike Fratello was the coach of Cleveland when he went to Cleveland, we all know if you can't play defense, which he couldn't do, you weren't going to get minutes. Now, to your second point but he could have progressed further with another team or at least been a bench player like we talked about. Yeah. Here's the thing, and I don't know his history, but my thought is he probably got a better offer in Europe. Because once he realized I'm not going to be the superstar in the NBA, but I'm getting this offer in Europe to make X amount of dollars, a lot of folks take that. Now, I don't know if that's the case with him, but it very well could have played out that way. Because to your point, I find it hard to believe that no other team would say, let's take a flyer on this guy.
He's at least worth having on my roster, and he's athletic enough to do some damage off the bench.
Or, hey, coaches have egos. Well, he didn't work out these places, but he wasn't coached properly.
Yeah.
If I get my hands on him.
Wait to see what I can do with
You would think he would have gotten more opportunity. But again, he may have taken a European deal.
He may have. And to your point, I don't know the answer to that either. But yeah, this is a great topic. So thank you for presenting it to me a few weeks ago. This is one I think we will do recurring, because there's so many.
More people.
No, we both came with a list of multiple players just so we didn't pick each other's. If I had gone first and said Jim Jackson, he would have gone to somebody else on his list. If he'd said Harold Miner, I'd have gone to somebody else on my list. This is a topic we could explore over and over.
All sports, football, basketball, baseball. So
true enough.
Look forward to seeing this one again.
Hope you like it, because if you don't, you might have to deal with it again. Maybe. But anyway, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Talmadge, for the idea of the topic and for stopping in. Thank you all for being here with us again. As you may have heard me say before, if you like the video, please actually click like, subscribe to the channel. It'll give me more opportunities to continue bringing you content, and it'll alert you when we do have new content available. So we will wrap that session up for now. For Talmadge Rodger Varnado III, I am Jared Johnson, the Jared J. Y'all have a great week. I hope I see you real soon.